show you how I make all my baked goods for the farm stand in the summer. I made sweetbread and cinnamon rolls, and I would make usually like 12 to 18 loaves of bread and probably like 16 to 20 pans of cinnamon rolls each weekend that we had the farm stand open. I would spend all day the day before baking, usually like 6 or 7 hours. Most I've ever made in a day was 28 loaves of bread. Starting the batch of 4 loaves of bread, which will fit in these pans. I only have 4 loaf pans, so I have to manage my time and loaf pans to manage to get everything baked in a day. For the cinnamon rolls, I use these pans. I sell the cinnamon rolls in the pan. It's a disposable pan that we bought on Amazon. I'm just going to make a batch of 4 loaves that will fit in the 4 pans because I'm just making it for my family today. But I'm going to tell you how I get all of my bread done in a day in the summer. I'm going to start the bread. It's a yeast bread. First step is to add 4 cups of warm water. Okay. Next is 3 tablespoons of yeast. And 1 1/3 cup of sugar. Keep our flour and sugar in big buckets because we buy it in bulk. 1 1/3 cup of sugar to do 4 loaves of bread. 1 cup and 1/3 cup. And mix it together. I'm putting the yeast, sugar, and warm water in the bowl together. Then I have to let it sit for 10 minutes so the yeast can proof. And then after that I'll add the oil and salt and then the flour. And then I'll let it rise for an hour after that. So if I want to make a whole bunch of bread in one day, which is 1 person, 1 oven, 4 loaf pans, and a limited amount of time, I have to time it right so that I don't end up with like 8 loaves of bread that need to go in the pans at once, or not all fitting in the oven or something like that. So I've devised a system that works for this particular kind of bread to be able to make them back to back, and as soon as the first batch will come out of the pans, then the pans have a few minutes to cool, then the next batch goes in. It's proofed for 10 minutes in here in the bowl, and it'll proof for another hour once I add the flour, salt, and oil, and then it has to be shaped into loaves and then put in the pans, and it proofs for another half hour. So if I wanted to make another batch right after this, I would start the process I just did, where I put the yeast mixture in the bowl to proof for the first time. I would start that right after I put the first batch into the pans. That way, because it takes 30 minutes to rise in the pan, and it takes another 30 minutes to bake, and then the pan needs some time to cool. So this is 10 minutes, then an hour. So that's the right amount of time where this would finish baking, and then you take the loaf out, and then it would have a little bit of time to cool before the next batch is ready to go in. Since I only have 4 of these in the oven at a time, I can start 8 pans of cinnamon rolls because we have 3 shelves in the oven. 4 pans take up 1 shelf. Then I can usually fit like comfortably I can fit 3 pans of cinnamon rolls in each shelf. I can fit 4, but they don't bake evenly if I do that. So I put 3 on each shelf. So I'd start 2 batches of cinnamon rolls while the bread is in pretty much any of those stages, because if I don't have more than 8 going at once, it will fit in the oven. If I have too many going, then I don't fit them all in the oven. The yeast mixture is done proofing now. It's ready for the next step. It's proofed for about 10 minutes, and you can see how it's all foamy on the top. It's not super duper like precise how foamy it has to be, just probably not more than 10 or 15 minutes. It can be less if it puffs up faster. Next, I'm going to add the salt and the oil. It's 2 teaspoons of salt, and half a cup of olive oil. And then I mix that in. And when I'm mixing that in, I want to make sure that all of the sugar is combined, because some of the sugar sometimes sinks to the bottom, and that's okay because the yeast still proofs. It's just a little, but some to the bottom, and make sure the oil is mixed in, not all separated. Yep. Next, I need to add the flour, which for the flour, I don't really know a precise measurement of how much flour I put in it, because I pretty much just add the flour until the dough is the right consistency. It should not be too sticky, but also not too floury, and it shouldn't crumble. Use bread and pizza flour for both things, for both the cinnamon rolls and the sweet bread, because it has a higher gluten content, which makes it so that the dough is more workable. It worked fine with all-purpose flour, but I could definitely tell the difference in kneading it. Like, it was definitely some difference. Like, it was less stretchy and less, like, what you would expect from less gluten. I've gotten it almost enough flour, but it's really still pretty sticky. See, it's still sticking in my hand, so I'm going to add some more. But it's gotten too doughy for my fork. I'm going to start kneading it with my hand. And then once I get it a little bit further along, I'll turn it out onto the counter. See, I can touch it now, and it doesn't stick to me, and it's not super sticky. I can knead it. It just needs to be kneaded for a few more minutes, so I usually knead it for like 2 or 3 minutes roughly on the counter once I've got it combined before I let it rise. It's a pretty big ball of dough because it's 4 loaves of bread. And it can be kind of a lot to knead it. You can use a mixer for it. I don't really like to, because I like to be able to like feel what I'm doing, because that's just me. But if I make 18 loaves of bread in a day, my arms are pretty tired. And you also, if you did it in the mixer, you'd want to probably mixer will probably do it faster than I'm doing it, so you probably want to do it for less time. See, it's starting to get sticky. I need to keep adding more flour to the counter. When it's done, you want it to be not like super stiff though, like, but it should be like able to stretch it at least a little. Shape the edges to kind of look like a dinner roll. You want to pull the edges down and tuck them underneath the ball. It's pretty big, and you can split it into two if you want, but it should still have the same rising time either way. Here I'm covering it with a damp tea towel. This is to help it not dry out, and also if it's summertime, we don't have this problem in the winter, it'll keep the bugs out of it. Now it's done. I left it a little bit too long because I was outside doing my chores, and it's freezing outside. Take it out of the bowl, punch it down, and knead it just a little, but not too much. You don't want to knead it too much to the point where it starts to not stick back to itself when you fold it over. And then you want to split it into 4 equal pieces by squeezing it with your hands in the middle. And it should split apart pretty good, assuming it's risen properly. And then you make sure they're about the same weight, and then you split them again and make sure the 4 pieces are about the same weight, and then you start to make them into loaves. Okay. Then we grease the pans, and then when you're shaping them into the loaves, it's about the same as when you're shaping the ball of dough, only you want to do it kind of like a log, and it shouldn't be as long as the pan. It should leave a little bit of room on both sides, as you can see here, because it'll rise and fill it out. Okay. Now it's risen for about a half hour, and we're going to score the top with this razor thing I have. You can also use a very sharp kitchen knife. It'll work very similarly. Let them cool for probably 10 minutes in the pan. Then I would let them cool completely on a